So recently I got a request for long form figure drawing or just longer figure drawing, right? So I can make a whole series out of that, and I plan to. And we're going to start right here with 10-minute figure drawing. Now in this series, I'm going to keep the figure drawing real time. So these are going to be longer and longer videos. So I'm going to do most of my yabbing and blabbing during the figure drawing process. But before we get to that in this video, I do want to cover a really important topic that we probably all need. So let's get straight into that after my obligatory YouTube title screen. All right, reference. So arguably one of the most important things we need here when we're doing, well, figure drawing, right? We need something to draw from. We need a figure. The resource I used for this video is Graphit Studio. Now, Graphit Studio has a wide selection of different options you can choose from male, female, different poses like clothed, nude. I do want to kind of emphasize that there is a lot of nude packages on here for classical figure drawing. But if that is something you're sensitive to or you're not 18 and older, then maybe this isn't the source for you at the moment. But they also have other sources like forest, nature, buildings, and all that cool stuff. So it really is a really good resource that you can use. It doesn't really cost that much. It costs like $9 to $12 per package. And they even have some free sample packages on there that if you're just trying to get by on a budget, you can really make use of those. All right, so as I said, these are going to be in real time. So I encourage you guys to draw along with me because as you can see, I threw that timer up there. We're hanging out for 10 minutes on this one. I got 2 poses that I threw into this video. So right off the bat, I do just kind of want to say, when it comes to longer poses, it's not really my thing as an artist. I'm a story artist, or at least I'm trying to be a story artist. And for me, drawing quick is kind of my bread and butter. So I usually, and for the past probably couple of years, I've only been focusing on like 1 minute, 2 minute, maybe 5 minute drawings. And I don't really exceed that. I haven't really done this long form life drawing since school for the most part, and maybe like a couple workshops here and there. But saying that, I don't want this to discourage you from doing this and trying this, and it is really important, to be honest, like to learn fundamentals and to apply it to this, the proportions, anatomy, and all that stuff. It really is beneficial. And then once you're kind of set and you know what you're doing, then you can kind of, decide, like, are you going to be a gallery painter or something like that? Maybe you love long poses. Are you going to be a story artist or a comic book artist where you kind of have to get through things quick, make it believable, but make it look like it's really in motion? Then maybe you're going to be more on the gestural side. But stick with me here. We're talking long figure drawing. So a few minutes in, now this is where I'm going to say again, you guys know if you've ever watched any of my figure drawing videos, I call myself out on this all the time. And I'm still going to call myself out on it because nothing's changed. I get very hyper stuck on details. So the reason why is I just can't not look at them. And if I know I have time, then I'm going to hyper focus on it. So here I am, hyper focusing. But this is kind of an example of do what I say, not what I do here. And I would highly suggest that you try to move through this as if it is a 1 to 2 minute drawing. The goal there is to try to get the whole figure in, capture the motion, capture the likeness of the pose to an extent, and then have whatever it is, 9, 8, 7 minutes left to kind of layer on the realism if that's what you want. Because the overall goal now with 10 minutes plus, right? Because we're going to talk about even longer figures in another video, is that now we have time to start layering in some of our knowledge of proportions and anatomy. I know I said this already, but going back over, it's shading too, right? So we can start talking about some values and stuff like that. How do we lay in some shadow? How do we lay in some highlights and other things? So this is where we have that time to play. Now, I'm kind of doing a mixture of what I'm saying. And again, I really should have got through this pose already, but detail-minded, I suppose. So I'm looking at the anatomy and I'm kind of getting stuck there, but it's also because I know I have time and I'm kind of being a little slower and relaxed with myself and just kind of figuring the figure out. Now, I'm going to try to go in and insert some shots here of like what I'm trying to think. When you guys see me, maybe I'll put in some guidelines and stuff. So I'm going to try to insert some shots of why I did that. But you're going to see me doing some problem solving here. So like right there, I was looking at the foot and I drew it on a straight angle, and realistically it's actually going a little bit on a diagonal. Now, coming in and correcting that is pretty important for a pose like this because, again, I have 10 minutes. I'm expected, in a way, to be able to show accuracy. And I think that's really important. So something that I want to bring up off of that as well, because I've taught a couple of figure drawing sessions to people, and something I notice is that people, once they finish a pose, they're going to rush through it. They hit the done button all of a sudden, right? It's the finished, you can't make me work on it anymore. And there's no real substance or detail to the picture. It's just an outline of a shell of a person. And you didn't go in and find the structure, the pose, the feeling, the intensity. So I really want to encourage you guys here to let yourself, if you're one of those people that just goes through a pose so quick, slow down with me. Slow down. All right. Look, we haven't even hit the 5-minute mark. And I want you to really zone in on this picture if you're practicing with me. This guy is a pretty slender, athletic looking figure. You can see those muscle landmarks, right? We have a really nice view of the anatomy, just kind of going up to the shoulder blade I drew in there. We can see that the shoulder blade leading into the lat muscle and coming around the body and what it's doing when the arm does this, right? So these are the things that I want you to kind of pause with me and take your time and try to draw it in the best and most accurate that you can at the moment. If anatomy is not your skill set yet, you'll get there, but trust me, just try and slow down and add these things in. Okay, so if you've already finished your figure, which is not surprising, I've taken way too long drawing out this figure. Now it's time for you to go back in and question anatomy. Did I get the shapes right? Is the proportions right? Is his weight balanced? What are all these things? I do want to go in here real quick. You can see me here. I'm trying to figure something out. Now that arm going down like this, right? Obviously from the back, that lower arm, it's really awkward. It looks okay in the picture because it's a picture, but drawing it, I don't really think it's going to work. So what I did was, instead of having him have his arm like this, I raised it. And of course we're looking from behind, so you actually wouldn't see that much. So what I'm going to end up doing is drawing a little bit of this kind of like forearm mass muscle here as a bump. And then that's it. And it's kind of suggestive. Now these lines coming down, you see one coming from the chest to the knee. You see one going from the elbow to the knee, and then one going from the heel to the foot. These are me comparing places to other places, right? As in simple terms, right? So like I'm taking the angle of the chest and I'm drawing a line between that to the knee to see where it lines up. And this is going to give me my placement of my knee in relative space. So that way I don't end up drawing a knee super far out, or I draw a knee really tucked in. And then I'm like looking at my proportions later thinking, why does it look like my figure has such like a stump leg, or whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter. For the proportions that we're drawing, we just want to make sure that we're trying to stay within what we're looking at. And we got this awesome figure making this pose for us here. So again, you just kind of want to make sure you're following this. So you can see now I'm going in, I have extra time. I got over 2 minutes, and now it's time for me to figure the anatomy of this pose out. So I'm going in to kind of sharpening up my line work. I'm finding things that can kind of give further detail to the volume of this piece. So I'm wrapping the boxers or briefs or whatever around the leg. This is gonna tell the viewer there's volume without me even going into shading or anything like that. If something is wrapping around something, you instantly think cylinder shape or something, right? You think mass. So those are cues you want to look for. I defined that shoulder blade muscle, right? Going into the shoulder, and I made it one shape. It looks really nice. It kind of goes together, right? So I'm kind of thinking of like beautifying this a bit. How can I unify it? I do want to caution you guys with drawing people that are athletically fit, or even like bigger people too. You don't want to go in and draw every little bump and curve and valley, because it's going to look off and unpleasant. And again, I just want to emphasize that's for people who are fit or not fit. When you're drawing these types of people, you just want to kind of stick to what is the important bump and valley versus drawing every little single one. It's going to give you a much more readable figure and a much more believable figure. So with my last minute here, I had some extra time. We're going in with some tone. Now, with tone, you can do this with charcoal. This is definitely where I learned this technique. It's just kind of smearing charcoal all over my whole page. And then you come in and you lift out where you want some of the highlight. And because you smeared the whole page, including the figure, where you lift out is going to become lighter than your now paper on the surface of whatever your drawing is on, because it's all charcoal black now. And again, this is with a light charcoal. Don't just go pure dark black, because then you're going to lose your figure. So I came in with a light and I just kind of lifted it out. Now I only have a few seconds left, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick where I want my viewer to look. So I threw it at the hair. Yes, I know the boxers are black, but I'm making the hair darker as an artistic choice because I want you naturally to look at this person's head and not their hips or their butt, right? So I'm kind of steering your eye. All right, next pose. So we have another athletically fit person here, so we kind of have to focus up on this. And again, this is going to be another case where I'm asking you not to necessarily do what I do, but kind of what I say here, because it's really easy to get stuck on the details with these things. Now, again, I just want to, this is going to be the key to everything. Even when we get into longer poses, try to think as if you only have 1 to 2 minutes right now. That's it. Try to get from head to toe to the bottom of the figure. Draw loose, draw suggestive, try to get the movement and everything going on, right? Draw your line of action, whatever you need to draw, wherever you're at, get it in there and get past where I'm at, right? So you guys can see I'm kind of getting stuck on this detail, and it's because like whenever I see like an athletic person, it's like this intimidation thing that happens for me when I'm drawing, because there's just so much that you can show, and there's so much to think about. Now I'm seeing so much of the landmarks that we know are underneath that I feel like I now need to express, but I'm going to try to push myself past that. So you can see I gave myself a line of action. I don't always give myself a line of action, but in this pose, it's a very clear from the pit of the neck to that foot on the ground line of action, and I figured I had to throw that in. Now, if you guys can see that very faint kind of straight line that I drew meeting my line of action, right? That is me drawing a line from the back of the head straight down to the point where the body is holding up that weight. Okay, so this is a very important thing. If you don't know necessarily how the body keeps itself balanced in different poses, it usually, not always, usually if you draw a straight line down from somewhere where the equilibrium of the head is, so sometimes it lines up the back of the head, if you're looking from the front, sometimes it lines up with, straight down. Somewhere where it's kind of like directly underneath you is where the weight bearing limb will land. I want to be very specific. It could be a limb because some people can be leaning on their arm or something like that, right? So it doesn't always have to be a leg necessarily. Often it is. So I went and drew that line down. So that way, whatever happens, even if I start elongating things, like these legs get crazy, like, whatever long, the weight distribution is still on point, and I can still keep that realism within my drawing. All right, so I'm kind of focusing here on the shapes, but again, like I said, you guys can see me getting stuck on those anatomical features. It's really hard to ignore when you can see them so well on the surface. But I'm trying my best here. We have this foot up on like a tippy toe kind of position. And again, this is how you know that that back leg is taking most of the weight, right? Unless this person is putting all of that weight on like their toes or the the bottom of their foot, which they aren't, then you have to make sure that the weight is distributed in the correct place. So you see me here getting stuck on certain things. Now, again, you can see that proportion line or that comparison line I just drew, right? So that's me finding from where the tip of this toe is. I'm drawing a diagonal and finding where it kind of lines up in relation to that foot that is on the ground platform. So this is kind of like just like giving myself the exact position of where it is. If I can find a straight line down from the back of the head and it lines up, and then I can also find that diagonal line from the another point in my picture using my pencil or whatever I'm using to kind of line it up from a distance, boom, the information's right there. Now, before I let this moment get away, I really like this in this pose. This doesn't always happen, but if you can see on this person's right side, but we're seeing it as her left side of her stomach, it goes down, it disappears behind the front leg, and then it looks like it's like a straight boom line into the leg. Use that to your advantage. Having that curve like that, it's going to add so much movement and elegance to your pose. It's going to make the body really seem connected and one. So do not kind of draw that stomach ending and then let yourself pick up the pencil and go to the bottom of the leg and then try to decide where that leg is. Draw straight through that leg. Okay, you can always try to lift off your paper, erase it digitally, whatever you're working with, cover it up with value. So don't fear drawing through your pose. If that's something you fear, then I'm kind of encouraging you right now to do it and to keep doing it while you're figure drawing, because drawing through things is going to be the best way to kind of figure out your pose. Now here I was able to see pretty quickly that that bottom leg, proportionally, I think it got a little long. It's kind of in an awkward position, but proportionally got a little long, but I kind of like it in this pose. This pose is kind of off anyway, so there's like this weird tilt in it, so we're kind of getting this back perspective of her disappearing, not necessarily, but you guys get what I'm talking about. And then that leg is kind of picking up, it's coming into our view and then coming back away, right? So fun to play with. And just, again, you can acknowledge that your proportions are wrong as long as you're confident about what you're doing. All right, so I looked at the time and I realized that I haven't even finished this pose, and it's almost at the 3-minute mark. Now, I want to be honest with you guys. I could have came in and redrew this, and a big part of me wanted to, but I wanted to leave this in because I want you guys to understand that just because there's a bunch of videos on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram of people drawing these things super quick, it doesn't always happen. All right. There's obviously people that are way better figure drawing artists than me, way quicker artists than me. But I do draw a decent amount of figures, and I just want you guys to know that, like, yeah, sometimes it clicks and I'm like, boom, poses in, and then it's all detail and gravy from there, right? But sometimes you get stuck, and that's okay. You got to kind of pick your battle here, right? What do you want to show in your pose? For me, it was to have a clear, concise pose here with most of the anatomy correct. So I started to throw in some of the arms. Arms were a little strange for me here because, like, she's got a really muscular body. Her arms and her limbs kind of just seem like a little lengthy, right? Like they seem long proportionally. But I wanted to play with that, so I kind of like used it to my advantage, and I started playing things up. Now, thank God for digital here, because I kept drawing these hands too dang big. So I do it this hand, and I do it with the other hand when I get to the other hand. But yeah, I was able to shrink it and bring it down a bit, and fix that. So again, kind of like a good thing to compare is like, look at the fist compared to the head. And like, you can even take that size over and say like, okay, well, from the fist, like this is maybe about the size of like the chin to below the eye or something like that, to the chin, to like the top of the cheekbone. And you can bring that size over and connect it to the fist. Again, a really good way to kind of find your relations in your picture. So we're at this almost 1 minute mark and I haven't finished my figure. Now, I had some decisions to make where I was going to figure out, well, what do I want to finish in this piece? How did I let 10 minutes go and I haven't even finished a figure? And obviously it's because I got fixated on the details, right? So again, this is why I'm trying to advise you guys, don't, but if you do, you know, it's completely understandable. Just work on it, right? So I just figured, you know, I think the last thing I wanted to get in was I really like this crazy hand shape, so I kind of worked on that. But I was drawing quick because I knew the timer was running, so I don't know how well or believable that hand came out. And then it's a 10-minute pose. I feel like I have to get some facial features in, right? So after I shrink this monster hand down, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna run to the face. Now, I'm gonna level with you guys here. I cheated a little bit, and I'm gonna go past the timer. Now, look, all right, it's digital. I don't have a real model in front of me. I'm gonna take advantage of the moment when I have it. But again, I just wanted to keep it real with you guys here. So, timer ran out. All right, what would happen in a real life drawing scenario? Well, the model would cover herself or whatever she's doing, and she'll walk off the stage. And you can continue to work on your drawing, okay? No one comes over and slaps the board out of your hand and says, you go sit in the corner while the model takes her break, right? So this is kind of what you would want to do. If you didn't finish your pose, you'd kind of come in and you'd add whatever you can, at least from memory. So sometimes it's good to map out some shadow shapes. Sometimes it's good to kind of like just draw faintly, and you can come in and add some proportions and anatomy on top of that. For me, I just felt like I had to finish a few of these details here, just to kind of get a little more of a completed drawing. Now, naturally, I would say with 10 minutes, you probably should be able to get to the pose and then add a little bit of tone or something within your picture, right? Again, I do want to emphasize that I'm a little rusty here, so maybe I can break off some of this rust with you guys as you're learning this as well. And you guys can be kind to me. But yeah, so overall, what we're dealing with here is the idea that we have extra time, but we can't let that time steer us in a direction that kind of takes us in the wrong direction, right? We have to be able to utilize what we know from that quick figure drawing. We're never going to lose that gesture drawing part of figure drawing. So if maybe learning about longer figure drawing is something that you feel like you need it because you just can't draw as quick as gesture drawing demands for like 1 minute, 2 minute, I still highly suggest you work on that. If you guys saw in the beginning that the video that played before the intro thing, that was me warming up. I did 40 minutes of warm up to feel like I had, you know, kind of like the confidence and the speed down to do this video. Okay. And you can see that even still, I'm a little bit slow and rusty, but do not underestimate warm-ups. Please do warm-ups. Please do gesture drawing. Don't stop on that. And you're going to notice a huge help when it comes to working on these figures. All right, guys, and that's everything I have for you today. I hope that was helpful. Again, I know I'm not like the best to kind of talk about these long form figure drawings, but I do have my practice from art school that I can kind of relate some of that information to you guys. If you like this, let me know. If you guys have any other figure drawing tips that you use that really work for you, go ahead and put them in the comments below. I'm always curious. I'm always learning too. So don't feel like you can't kind of bounce some ideas off of everyone in this community that we're trying to build here. As always, I just want to say thank you guys for watching. I'm going to complete this series probably at like a 30-minute figure drawing video. So we're going to do 20, then 30. If you guys want longer ones, maybe like an hour, we can look into that. I don't know if that's something you guys are into, but we can totally do it. Please do the things that help me out on YouTube. Share this around if you know people need it. And hopefully, I'll see you guys in the next video.